Hello, this is Brother Benson Media. It's Sunday morning, and today we are doing our recap at our weekend talk show. This is the Viewpoint, that we talk about the news that made the headlines, and we decided to pick the ones that we think, as a channel, we can speak about. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Kevin Obura. Marco Obura, habari gani?
Niko salama nashukuru.
Habari ya leo.
I'm okay, everything is okay.
Haujai
Kiswahili,
kusema Kiswahili
Kiswahili,
inakusumbua kidogo.
Kiswahili changu ni chache.
Lakini kama Mkenya inafaa ujue Kiswahili, kwa sababu hiyo ndio labda lugha ama lugha ambayo inafanya tunaweza zungumza. Anyway, there's so many have happened this week. There's so many news that are making headline this week, but we will just try to pick up few and maybe we talk about. One of them is about the saga. We call it the scam, the scam, the dossier that the Honorable Right Prime Minister just talked about G2G government that was done by the Kenya Kwanza administration, and it's something that has been in the public domain. Of this lady Jerry. I don't know what you can say about it before, maybe your comment on it.
Okay, I think the whole fuel importation issue started when when the country was going through a lot and we were unable to get enough fuel in the whole country, and the prices were too high. So the government had too much pressure from the people and from even the countries around. So they decided that they would go for a deal that, according to them, they thought was going to ease in the pressure that was being felt by the people of Kenya. So they went and had a discussion, a negotiation with the Saudi Arabia government and the UAE, and they came back and told us that they had an agreement between the three governments, and for that reason, they were saying they were going to import fuel from those countries, and the cost would be reduced. And therefore, it was a government to government deal. And they also told us that it was going to ease in the pressure in dollar. So most Kenyans thought that it was a good idea, but it's unfortunate that they never made it public, the whole deal. So people never really knew the truth behind the scene until last week, when a lady by the name Jerry came on public, and she was now saying she also imported oil, fuel, costing 17 billion. And if you keenly follow this importation of fuel, it doesn't really add up, because for someone to be allowed to import fuel in Kenya, you must the least amount you should have is 17 billion. And 17 billion is not any small amount of money. And it was the people could not really understand how a single person would import a fuel costing 17 billion. Because even if you look at the richest people in Kenya, they don't, their worth is not 17 billion. So it's unfortunate that the government, we are not really sure, but there is something behind the scene that we are not really being told as a country.
Oh, okay. Let me kind of like say something here. When this deal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, when this deal came, it was the government was supposed to be using the government policy of open tender system, that is OTS. But what government did, they went into agreement with two nations, that is the Saudi Arabia government and Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So what happened was when they went into deal, they went into contract agreement. The government, now it was a contract and it was going to be paid in the Kenya shillings, you know, and that one was going not to cost Kenya a lot of money, but in the process, the Kenya shilling started to lose value. Then they shifted to government to government. So when they shifted in government to government, it was now it was on a premium, a fixed premium, but now it was changed to dollar. No, now they are going to pay it into dollar. So which means when they were going to pay it into dollar and the Kenya shillings is still losing value, so which means they were going to pay a lot of money, you know. So, and another thing that also happened during that, there are only companies, now the government did not import it, but there were three companies that were given opportunity to import that. Yeah. And some companies were not. So what happened was the companies that maybe imported this to bring to the country, they started selling it very high. That's why we saw the cost of the pump were going up, and it affected the Ugandans, you know, and that's why the Yoweri, the Ugandan president, decided to leave, you know. And I think there's also source that there are so many companies that also wants to leave to go to Uganda because they cannot do with the Kenya, and the amount that Kenya is going to lose is almost like a 150 billion, and that one is going to, that is the, out of that money we are going to lose the tax. So it's it's all about, when you look at Kenya, Kenya is all about deals. People are just making deals. Even leaders now, we should start over there thinking about the country, not in, like, it's all about deals. The government deals, the offices deals, is deals everywhere. So I think as a country we are still too far, you know, we are still too far to achieve the country that we desire. If everything that the country is going to do, somebody has to make a deal and go with it, and at the expenses of Kenyan population, it's so sad.
Yes, I think if you if you can remember the first time they started this deal, there was an issue of Kenyan shilling losing value, and they were saying there was too much pressure on dollar, and for that reason, the Kenyan shilling was losing its value. So before they revert and then they went to government, according to them,
Yes.
we never saw any improvement in the Kenyan shilling. That is why they went back and they are now telling us that it was government to government.
Yeah.
So I think there hasn't been any truth because the main reason why they were going for this direct importation was to ease the pressure of Kenyan shilling so that at least it would be stable. But since they got into that deal, it has been depreciating.
Hmm.
And they were supposed to, it was supposed to solve the high cost of fuel. That was not solved as well because if you look at the prices of fuel in Kenya, it's higher it is the highest in Eastern Africa and most African countries. If you go to Uganda, if you go to Tanzania, fuel is cheaper in those countries than in Kenya. I think that also tells us that these deals that the government is getting into, they are not really pro people. They are not concerned about the people, but they are concerned about their dealings and what they are getting from those deals. They're not really doing or getting into these deals to solve the problems that Kenyans are facing. But
Mhm.
there are few people in the ministry that are benefiting. Again, if you even try to follow this story of Anjeri,
Mhm.
and then the other day, Senator Okia Mtata was also revealing to us something that
Yes.
it seems that the money that this lady used to import this fuel was from the Ministry of
Consol
Interior. I
no,
mean,
actually,
from the government of
consolidated, yeah,
yeah.
consolidated bank. It came from consolidated bank. That's according to Okia Mutata.
Now you ask yourself, why would a government, why would they withdraw money and then give it to a single individual to go and import fuel, and then they don't let the people of Kenya know what are their
I,
motives, what are their reasons? That is clear corruption in daylight,
mhm.
and I think it's not really right for any government ministry, especially under the supervision of the president, for
Mhm.
them to misuse Kenyan money, especially in this period where most Kenyans are finding it tough to make ends meet.
Mhm.
The prices of oil are too high. Like the people of Kenya are really going through a lot of tough time. So the ministers or the people involved, they are taking the life of Kenyans for granted.
Le- Let me ask you, Makobura. When you look at the Kenyan, every administration that comes into power, they have this software of corruption whereby they have to steal from Kenyan people. So it tells you how sometimes leadership doesn't care about Kenyans. When we come into Kibaki government, we had Golden Bag issue, and it was a big one, you know. Then from there we came, it was Eurobond. Yeah, that one also was a very big one. Then we came again, there was laptop, there was Kimwarera and Aurora. Then there was also the COVID, you know. So now again, we are in His Excellency Ruto's administration. Then there is another mega corruption, and it's not this one. It's corruption after corruption, and the people who are involved, they're not new to us. These are government officials who are doing this on and knowing very well that this is our country. So, do you think, as a country, we are going anywhere?
We still have a long way to go. The people that we've been electing are not really leaders, but they are deal makers. That is where we have a problem as a country because these people gets into government and they're all fighting to get rich. They're all fighting to loot so that they would be the richest people maybe in the country or in the world. If, for example, when Ruto was campaigning, is among the promises that he made to the people of Kenya. He promised that he was going to elevate the Aslas, and for the first time, his campaign was so much appealing to the people of Kenya, and so many people resonated, especially the poor, the mama mboga, and so they felt that for the first time they were getting someone into presidency who would really care and listen to them. It is unfortunate because the same government that promised they would be there for the hustlers, they're the same government that is getting into serious corruption deals, now not really considering the fact that they made clear promises to the poor Kenyans. I think that's so unfortunate, and people expected much from them, but they have done really the opposite.
If, even like as we talk like today, there's also another scandal at what we call it Kenya Water Towers Agency, whereby it is being said there's a scandal of 147 million, the money, it's there's a corruption over there. So like who is to blame for this? Should we blame the Kenyan people, or should we blame the government, or should we blame, because I don't feel that it is with the Kenya Kwanza government. It has always been there all the way, and it is a system that it is kind of something that has been normalized, that every time new administration come into power, they have to get this software of doing corruption, and they have to steal from Kenyans. Yeah. And like, you wonder, where are we headed to as a country?
I think the problem is not really. It's a trend. It's a trend in, they say, in Africa,
Mm,
because uh, most of African leaders, they don't care about the life of the people that they're leading.
mhm,
If, for example, if you quickly look into the politics and the leadership of Kenya, every government that comes into office, and it's unfortunate that if I think this, whatever we've been witnessing in Kenya, for every government that comes in, they come in with uh, a certain measure of corruption or plans that they are making. If you look at the Kibaki government, there were scandals, yes. There wasn't serious as the one that we saw in Uhuru government. And again, we are getting into Ruto government. We are seeing so much that we never even saw in Uhuru's government. And I think we should brace and expect that suppose another government is coming, they're going to get into serious scandals than the one we are seeing. So there's uh, there's a sense of what competition in every government or leader who comes into office. They feel that they're entitled to loot. They feel that they're entitled to get rich. They feel that they're entitled to do whatever they can do so that they outsmart the previous administration. Remember, Ruto was in the government of Uhuru. He was the deputy president of that government, and he is among the people. If we are to keenly even investigate or talk about corruption in that government, whenever we are mentioning Uhuru, who was the leader by then, he was the second in command. For that reason, he should also take care of and explain to the people of Kenya why there were major scandals of corruption in the previous government. If Kenyans should have been more vigilant, because this is something we saw last time. He was the second in command. So what would we expect in his term? Of course, much, because he would say now he knows very well how the government works. He knows the weaknesses and how to even convince the people. It is so unclear and not right for a government to get in power and then the only the only thing they measure on is corruption, left, right, and center, but not really caring about the people and even listening to the people that they gave so many promises to.
okay. Do you think like the Kenyan public are usually not aware of maybe what is taking place? Because if you look at the unfolding of events before even the Lady Jerry came into picture, one thing that happened was the CS for Interior, uh, Professor Kithure Kindiki, gazetted some levies on talking about the government document, and the levies were extra high, and like the Kenyan public were talking about it. Yeah. Then what happened was, when Kenya was still talking about it, the issue of Njeri came in, yeah, into the news. Like she's kind of like abducted, taken somewhere. We are going back to Moi regime. Before we realize, the CS track back, degazette the notice. Then like, so it's like that there was a confusion of the public. So you don't know what to to talk about? Do you want to talk about the cost of living? Do you want to talk about the oil? Do you want to talk about the levies? By the time you realize, everything now is like, people are now, it's like they've gone back to campaigns right now.
Yeah, I think that's diversionary mechanism, and the government is they're always very they know how to play their cards. Whenever they feel there's too much pressure and the people are starting or getting the truth, they always come up with some drama or some issue so that they can divert the attention of the people. That's why the Ministry of Interior, they introduced so many levies, high levies on registration of ID, marriage certificate, and when the people are keenly discussing that, the issue of Jerry came in, and even this issue of Jerry doesn't make sense. It's just it was just brought so that the minds of the people would divert and maybe start talking about her so that we would forget about the real things that we are going through. And remember, when they managed that, the Minister of Interior diverted the statements and the levies that he had imposed on serious documents. It's just a tactic where they're trying to they're trying to make Kenyans forget about the serious issues that they are going through. It's a tactic where they're trying to confuse the minds of people, not to think on serious issues that are affecting them. So, and any government who uses such kind of tactics, that is a government that gets into too much corruption. And only, I think only thieves are good in diverting and changing their statements whenever they are caught. And a government that uses the same tactics, it's a government that would get into serious corruption, and they would use the same tactics so that they would try to sanitize uh, their their governance.
Yeah, oh, sorry. We are looking forward. I think there are so many stories that is still going to unfold on this, and hopefully, this is also like a case study that the Kenyans population or the Kenyan electorate are seeing. This is a case study, and will give them opportunity to evaluate what kind of leadership they should put in place, so that next time you vote wisely. You don't just vote. That's now, it is your responsibility. It is now between me and you to decide on what kind of leadership do we want. So that is there. We will keep on following the story every moment it unfolds. Now, there's this issue with the National Dialogue Committee, and we are seeing fresh demands coming out. And you know, when you look at the entire thing, does it even the whole dialogue committee, does it even share Kenyans' aspiration or desires that the common Kenya would want to have? Does it?
I think among the list of demands that were presented before that committee,
Mhm.
cost of living was one of the issue that was supposed to be discussed.
Mhm.
But it's unfortunate that when the committee started its workings, they dwelt on issues that they thought would only help, especially the leaders of leaders, things to do with the election. Those were not serious issues that were really affecting the people of Kenya. I think the most issue that they would have discussed was the cost of living. But it's unfortunate that when they were almost getting over with the talks, when they were almost concluding the talks, they never included the cost of living. And from the news that we are seeing,
Mhm.
it's Kenya Kwanza side that they were not. They were trying to get away from that. And when the Azimio side was trying to press on this,
Mhm.
they now started slowing down the process. But
So
again, I think the Azimio side were not very keen, because the main reason why people were going for Mandamano was because of the cost of living, and that
yeah.
ought to have been
Mhm.
the first thing to be discussed in that committee, and they never really even talked about it.
So let me ask you. Let me ask you. We are having like 100 days talking, yeah, and we know what are the issues that we are talking about. Then we talk until we reach the 11th hour. Then we say, now this is what, if you don't do this, we are not going to do this. You know, and how how is that one possible?
I think this government, they're not ready to solve the issue of cost of living,
Mhm.
and it seems that we'd say maybe they've squandered or looted a lot of money to an extent that they don't have the money to maybe stabilize the economy. And so this is just a tactic to get away from discussing that issue of cost of living. Because
But
whenever we start the
uh,
conversation,
yeah, yeah.
whenever we start the conversation, they always try to get away from it. And that tells you that the government is not really ready to solve that, and it
Hmm.
could be that they don't have the resources uh, to manage or to find a way of stabilizing maybe the economy and the
Oh, sorry,
cost of
somebody's calling
living.
me. But
Yeah.
my question to you is,
Yes.
when everybody was going for dialogue, if they each and every person had the list, the Azimio side had their list, the government has their list. So which means, why did it take the dialogue committee or the dialogue team so long to agree on the cost of living until at the tail end? That's now where the disagreement is coming from. And like, even when you see like the issues that were agreed, cost of living was not there.
I think the opposition, as much as they also pretend to show that they are fighting for the people of Kenya, uh, they were only so much interested on their demands, the demands that were really just affecting I would say, the leaders.
Mhm.
Because things to do with the IBC, I think those would wait. The most important thing that they would have fronted in that talks were the cost of living. So
Mhm.
that also tells you that Kenyan politics is all about interest, and those leaders, they are just concerned about the welfare and
Mhm.
about their interest.
Okay.
The interest of the people of Kenya comes at the tail end, and that is what we are seeing here. It's coming when the talks are almost over, and now they are pretending that they are so much serious about it that they can't even finish the talks because the cost of living is not there. But you'd ask yourself, why would it, if they were really concerned, they would have made that to be the first topic, and
Yes,
maybe
the
they would have sorted.
priority.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they would have sorted and at least had some stance on it. So it is just some kind of drama that they're now bringing fresh demands, because they have seen that the people of Kenya are not going to welcome the talks,
So do you think
especially
it
cost of living is not included.
do you think is a play that is trying to uh be like to be brought into the public, so that the Kenyans or the public would know that, okay, uh the leaders are fighting for us, yet it might be an inside job, but on the public it's like they're fighting for us, but on the boardroom, where actually the youths who are mostly affected with the cost of living were not in the meeting, in those dialogue committee. So it mm,
I think if you remember those days when people were going for mandamano, most of them would carry sufuria, and the slogan was to lower the food prices and the cost of living.
Mm.
That is the reason why I would say 90% of Kenyans went out to demonstrate, and that is why even so many people were killed, because all they were fighting for was the cost of living to be reduced so that they would afford their daily needs. Uh, it's it's so it's so wrong, I think, because the reason why even these people agreed to stop demonstration, the people of Kenya, it was because the government had agreed that they were going to sit down and have a discussion on how they would try to lower the cost of living. So anybody or any Kenyan would expect, the expectation would be that the first discussion when the government sat with the opposition was to discuss the cost of living, and we never saw that. So that also tells you that whenever these mandamanos are called, are we really going to fight for the things that are really uh, pressing, or the difficult things that we are going through? Or could it be that we always go for mandamano so that we would fight for someone's right and their interest? That's a question that we should ask ourselves, because among the issues that have been discussed so far, the the most important thing that ought to have been discussed, it has been left out: the cost of living. It's tough for the people of Kenya to understand how politicians operate.
Yeah, that's and and as I said earlier, I think right now is the best time that the Kenyan people or the Kenyan electorate should be kind of like doing like a study or a research and come out with a conclusion, or they can first maybe put on their hypothesis and study and answer those their hypothesis questions. Then come 2027, they can do their due diligence, yeah, by voting the right people into the right positions who will discuss the issues that affect them, not issues that um, are for them, you know.
Yeah,
And yeah,
Kenya, I think we have a problem because the people always come or runs or goes for presidency.
yeah.
These are people who have been into the field for quite some time, and if you're a newcomer and you're coming into this field, especially when you want to vie for presidency,
Mhm,
no matter how you have very serious manifesto or
mhm.
plans that would really help the country, I'm telling you, you'll be treated as someone who is trying to play a drama of the year.
Mm.
It's high time that the people of Kenya accept the fact that the people who have been in politics for quite some time, they are not these are people who cannot solve their problems. Anybody who has been in politics for, let's say, 15 years, this is someone who has had the opportunity to influence, the opportunity to change the lives of people, the opportunity to change even the laws, or to bring policies that would help the people of Kenya. I think we should start embracing newcomers, people who have not been into politics, because majority of these people who have been in politics, I think once you get into politics, you start learning ways, or some uncouth ways of living, some
No,
ways where you'll getting into politics in Kenya is like, maybe if you get out of it, you'll have a certificate of looting or thievery or even corruption,
no, making deals.
and making deals and getting even into wash. Those are the things that Kenyan politicians, majority of them are well known of. And even if you follow one by one their lifestyle, you will find that either way, most of them got into parliament by either they were wash people, they bought their way into parliament. Some of them got into serious corruption scandals. As we can see, there are some governors who get into fame by stealing a lot of money from the public, and they were sanitized, and now they're governors. Again, if you look, some of them are deal makers. Those are the people who are leading us. Those are the leaders. So it's unfortunate. It's not. I think Kenyans should not expect too much of these people because their lifestyle and their daily lives has not been a life that would be pleasing, but a life full of immorality, if I would say so.
Thank you very much. We will see we will wait and watch how the things will unfold, whether the majority of Kenyans will go back on the street for demonstration, for the cost of the living to be lowered by the government or no. So that is something that we will be following keenly and update our viewers as time goes. What about the issue of Meru County? Meru County, like, let's say, like this here, Meru County has shown us dust, and right now is like I think like there's non-governmental organization trying to collect signatures to dissolve the county government of Meru, whereby the Mwangaza, the governor herself has backed that. Like he's saying she's for it. So what is your take? And will that one happen with this Kenya of ours? Will that county be dissolved and people go for fresh elections and to get new leaders?
There's a politician who once said that in Kenya there are so many problems, and if we are not keen, the only thing we should wish for is that Kenya should be disbanded and everybody should go home. So it could be that the people of Meru or the leadership of Meru, some of them, especially the governor, she's to the opinion that Meru government should be disbanded, and therefore everybody in Meru government should go home and seek for fresh election. I think this is coming after the governor had issues, especially with the leaders of Meru together with the MCAs, and she was accused of so many things, and she was presented before the Senate, who keenly looked at the issues that she was accused of, and fortunately, she managed. She was found to be. Uh, she was found to have not committed the said issues or problems that were brought before the Senate. Now she managed, and again, remember the people who took her to the Senate or the MCAs. And when she went back to Meru, she found the same problem was not solved, especially now that she managed to. She was not charged according to the expectations of the MCAs. Now, this is bringing uh, some in the MCAs are not just very much okay with that, and they're not still welcoming the government. They're not accepting the fact that the governor was found not guilty, uh, and the governor also has seen. So there is a group of people who are trying to collect signatures. They're trying to ask the people, what do you think? Should we dissolve this county? Or it's okay, it's working for the people? And I think ours is to wait and see. As far as things are concerned, things are now. I think the people of Meru are finding it tough to get a government. Uh, they're finding it tough to get the government to deliver to them, especially the county government, because when the governor is the executive is in a fight with the legislatures. There are no, the people shouldn't expect much. They say elephant, when the elephants are fighting, the only thing that gets hurt is the grass. So the people on ground are finding it tough, and they've been given the opportunity to say that, to voice their voices. Let's wait and see if they agree that they would dissolve the county. We should expect an election in the governorship seat and together with the MCA seats in Meru.
How will we get election yet? Even the IBC, as we speak right now, we don't have any commissioners there. And another thing is when I think the Meru County MCS, they went for retreat in Mombasa. Did they?
Yeah, yeah, they did. They did.
So what you see, that's the kind of leadership that we have. We are living the instead of even like promoting your county, the issues are in the county. Why do you have to go to retreat to Mombasa? Yeah, at whose expense? Who is paying for those?
At,
You
at
know,
the people of at the people of Meru's expense and the people of Kenya.
eh,
That is, you know, the MCAs.
eh.
Let me say the MCAs, the members of parliament, and the Senate. These leaders, theirs is always to legislate.
Yeah.
Sometimes they feel that they're too important and then they just like wasting public money. I'm quite sure in Meru there are so many nice places, there are so many nice hotels. Why would they fly? And you, if you even try to do some research about what happened, you'll find that they flew from one point to the other point, and that is public money, and they are even budgeting for that. So it's unfortunate that in Kenya, corruption is budgeted for, and a big, it's so unfortunate.
You think
A
the
group
the
of MCs flying
do
away
you,
from the county to go
mm,
discuss issues of a county
no,
that discuss even within the assemblies of the Senate of the county. That doesn't really make sense. Those are leaders who are not really, they don't know their role as maybe the county government legislatures. So they've seen that corruption is on high end. So they're also trying to actualize. It is their time to loot or to get into corrupt dealings as well.
I think like maybe as a country we should just normalize corruption and make it as a normal thing. Like we normalize it because the money that goes on corruption and deals in the country is even larger than the expenditure. Yeah, that is being.
You know,
in-
most
Uh,
of government employees,
yeah.
they like wasting public resources. Remember the other day when we are having this tree planting day, our whole cabinet secretary flee. He was in the coast province, in the coast counties, just because he was to plant a tree in Busia, all the way from the coast to Busia, going to plant just one or two trees, and he's going with an helicopter because he's a cabinet secretary. You know, using an helicopter from the coast region to Busia, and then this government they're telling us there's no money to lower the food. There's no money to this government has they are spending a lot of money on travel and unnecessary things. If they were really concerned, they would divert this money in either paying debts the country, the debts that we are having as a country. Mispriority, they are misprioritizing their when it comes to spending. They spend on things which are useless, things which are not substantial, things which are not helpful to the people of Kenya. They are simply wasting resources, and then they come and then start telling us, "Oh, we never found money. Oh, there is no money." They're the people who are wasting money.
In Meru County, and if election will be there, but I don't think so because we don't have